fucking watch.
Hey, you never know. You never know. You might get up there one night. You're gonna get up there one night. And next thing you know, there's gonna be 50 people.
I'd be absolutely fucking stoked. Like, absolutely impressed, mind blown, stoked. Like, just to fucking have people in my fucking... Give me a reason to pull my stream up so I can watch my fucking chat messages. Yeah, so I can fucking communicate with y'all asses.
Yeah, that'd be it. Hey, I need to, because, dude, I know people that'll watch it for real. I need to start sharing it. Because I have some friends that...
I wish I could...
I have some friends that really will.
I wish I could unsubscribe certain people. I wish I didn't ask certain people, like my ex and her friends, to subscribe to me. Because they don't engage with my content, which is hurting me.
Exactly.
Them being subscribed and not watching the videos, not liking the videos. You ain't even gotta fucking watch it. Just click on it, let it play for 30 seconds while you hit like, and then bye. Like, that does so much for you. You have no clue what that 30 seconds per video does. Even if it's a 3-hour live, once it's over, go watch like 30 seconds of it and fucking hit like. That's it. Comment. Like, that'll make a difference too. It'll get me pushed out to those that are gonna watch my fucking content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's all it is finding the people that will. Like kind of like TikTok. Once you start looking up the same shit.
And unless it's worth it to me, I'm not putting in that fucking 3 hours of advertising.
No.
I'm done editing videos. I'm just gonna do lives. Because I can't put those hours into it if I'm not gonna... I've been doing this a year and a half. I'm not getting fuck all back from it.
What we need to do is get, like you said, people to start liking, commenting, just randomly. Send me the link to it. I'll go up there.
I got 2 people that'll periodically, when they can, watch my video, like watch my lives.
Right. No, but that's how it is with TikTok. When you start looking up stuff, the people that are most relevant, that have the most likes,
show up the first.
Yes. So
and people like me don't even come on that algorithm. I don't get pushed.
So that's what we need to do. I do it.
I gotta get...
Send me the link to do it, because I can't remember your name for it.
Well, I just got people to get people to come in, like, whenever I go live or I post a video, I'm like...
My biggest problem is not even realizing you're live.
Well, see, I ain't gonna lie, I got my YouTube notifications turned to fuck off.
Oh, yeah. That's how people I subscribe. I forget they're even up there, and then I'll watch it.
It's not notifying me that anybody's live on YouTube. I got YouTube turned. YouTube ain't important in my life. Not gonna lie, so I respect it, but like...
Right.
I just go live, because maybe somebody will side into my content and be like, hey, you know what? I like this guy. He's pretty chill. He's just playing. He ain't like trying to be competitive. Can you even say that word, motherfucker?
That part.
Trying to read. If I were to try and read that and say it before I knew what the fuck that shit was, ain't no fucking way.
That part.
Diatomaceous. Like, the fuck?
Hell yeah. But I'll see if you wake me up if I ain't up when you're up.
Alright, man. Hey, we got any plans for tomorrow?
Yeah, Brandon.
Oh, yeah, Brandon's. Alright.
Cash that I want to go out, put out flyers so we can get that.
Alright, so for right now, and I'm going to grab my fucking multimeter. Try and remind me to grab my multimeter as well. That way, while we're cutting Brandon's, we can diag and my jumper cables.
Yes.
Because we're going to try and not let the mower cut off while we do Brandon's.
Okay.
Because I want to try and see why the battery's not charging, and see if I can't, that's why I still have other things, hanging out, because nothing is quite correct. Some things ain't quite correct, like the wiring. So,
I get you, bro.
Yep. All right, man. Whoa! God damn, it's dark as fuck in there. Wow. Holy shit. Goddamn. Ain't a boogeyman might have been in that motherfucker. Shit. I went in there and got afflicted with blindness. Alright, do these niggas not like me or something? Like, let's find out. Londinium Bureau. Did I already find the fucking bureau? Okay. This Yeah, I was just saying, nah, there's more to this. Okay. There we go. Hmm. That does not do it. What was it that did it? Fuck. I ain't got no abilities either. Shoulder bag. That's cool. What? Thank you. There's a lot more to that. Thank you. Alright, so back to the task.
Won't be gentle if they spot me.
Okay, so not.
Hey!
You die now! In step with me!
Here's a rock for your scalp!
Yeah, they don't like me. You bitch! Bitch. I ain't worried about none because I ain't doing nothing illegal. I'm just making rice cakes. Oh, it is, man. Let me see here. So, bread, make rice cakes, whatever the fuck I'm making here. I don't know what it is, but I'm just fucking doing it. Don't get too curious. London. Check it out. Worry about you.
Come, see my wares.
That's exactly what I want to see. I'm pretty sure you ain't got nothing there, though.
Finished looking around? All done?
I have to go. See you soon.
If I find one crack, that statue is as fragile as the rest of my collection and costs more than the whole you call a head.
This place is heavily guarded.
Heavily. Oh, shit's down there. Oh, hey there, Cougar.
Here's a nice hot shaft
Fuck,
in the rear.
you're a hungry little fuck, ain't you? Oh boy.
paid your way.
Confirm that.
Your death has been avenged.
Okay, so this bitch, you dumb as fuck, bruh. Wow, y'all hella dumb. Boom! There's the key. Hey, kitty. Boom! What was that? Boom! What was that? Boom! We got another boom. Yeah, what was it? Alright. I got something for you. Good night, Sally! Ooh. It's not what you expected, was it? Sorry, bud. Please.
Stop right there.
Bitch, please. Get right where your buddy was. Next. Tell me something good. Hey.
for the kill.
Sorry, bud. No, it goes. The game says I have to kill you. Ain't no damn way. There we go. Apparently that bitch got a lot more bullets. But I used both of them. Kitty, you're next on my list, kitty. Yes, a kitty. Kitty. Kitty? Die, kitty. Bad kitty. Jesus. What? What?
What do you see, Sunan?
Excuse me, what? Excuse me, what? Or get off the fucking fire! Wow! You idiot!
I'll follow you, Avon, to glory and Valhalla!
To me, warrior. Let gold and glory be our meat and mead.
Confused now. Not doing that right now. Just not showing up, but I'm not sure. It's like, what the fuck?
Sail! Catch the wind!
Securing a home loan was one of the most significant financial decisions a homebuyer would make. Whether purchasing a new home, refinancing an existing mortgage, or leveraging home equity, understanding the landscape. December 6, 2001, was a cold, snowy day in Leo, a village in the European country of Georgia. 50 kilometers to the east, among the trees along a nearly impassable mountain road, 3 men were out searching for firewood. It was getting dark when they happened across a bizarre sight. One of the most considered thought experiments in human history has to be, okay, if the Axis powers and not the Allies during World War II, if Heisenberg and not Oppenheimer had won the race to the atomic bomb. The question isn't purely academic either. Both sides had their best minds on the issue. The physicists at Los Alamos versus the physicists here in Germany. Of course, everyone knows who won that race, but not everyone knows exactly how. Not only did Oppenheimer and his team beat the Axis powers to nuclear fission, the Allies tried their damnedest to slow down the German nuclear program any way that they could, which included one of the most important acts of sabotage in all of World War II. This is the true story of the secret mission to destroy Germany's heavy water. It was the only offensive use of a nuclear weapon that ended World War II. On August 6, 1945, the United States decided to vaporize some 80,000 people of Hiroshima, Japan, in less time than it took to end this sentence. The Second Great War may have already been winding down at that time, but Fat Man and Little Boy undoubtedly declared the winners. One of history's greatest questions, however, is what would have happened if they had been established in the White House. If the so-called Romanian started in Nazi Germany in 1939, but beaten Oppenheimer to the bone. This historical counterfactual wasn't an impossible timeline. By the end of 1939, renowned physicist Werner Heisenberg knew that the weaponization of nuclear reactions was possible. He believed all Germany needed was enough of a single, incredibly rare substance critical to advancing nuclear physics: heavy water. Adolf Hitler was dead when the fighting in Germany would end before the United States conducted the first atomic test in the early morning hours of July 16, 1945. A rehearsal for Codename Trinity actually happened the very day Germany surrendered. Still, had German scientists been just a few months ahead of their American counterparts, the future of the war, indeed the future of the world, could have looked very different. That future was prevented not only by Los Alamos scientists' specific design decisions, as we'll learn, but by a daring adventure by a handful of young Norwegian commandos skiing over frozen tundra. The Wehrmacht's determination to have the nuclear age start in Germany was the driving force behind two incredible efforts. One you've certainly heard of, one you probably have not. The first was the Manhattan Project, which was ultimately successful and world-changing. The second, successful in a different way, was Operation Gunnerside, the secret plan to destroy any capabilities the Axis powers had to create precious heavy water in the snowy landscapes of Norway. A plan called one of the most important acts of sabotage in human history. March 1942. Japanese forces had just decimated Pearl Harbor a few months before and officially dragged Britain and the United States into the meat grinders of modern combat. At the same time, on the other side of the world, a lone Norwegian soldier was parachuting into his German-occupied homeland for reconnaissance. Norway had the only source of heavy water in the world, the Vemork hydroelectric power plant, and the Allies needed to know how fast the German atomic bomb program was progressing with this substance. He patiently gathered information at Vemork for months until 4 more Norwegians were dropped just west of his location. Codenamed Grouse, these young men were told to group up, prepare to sabotage the plant, and wait for reinforcements. The atomic bomb program was progressing with this subtle before and officially dragged Britain to the United States with a precious heavy distance, which was ultimately successful and incredible German commandos skiing over 5 knots of July 16. The substance he believed all Germany needed was enough of a single, incredibly rare substance critical to advancing nuclear physics: heavy water.
What the heavy water?
Adolf Hitler was dead when the fighting in Germany would end before the United States conducted the first atomic test in the early morning hours of July 16, 1945. A rehearsal for Codename Trinity actually happened on the very day Germany surrendered. Still, had German scientists been just a few months ahead of their American counterparts, the future of the war, indeed the future of the world, could have looked very different. That future was prevented not only by Los Alamos scientists' specific design decisions, as we'll learn, but by a daring adventure by a handful of young Norwegian commandos skiing over frozen tundra. The Wehrmacht's determination to have the nuclear age start in Germany was the driving force behind two incredible efforts. One you've certainly heard of, one you probably have not. The first was the Manhattan Project, which was ultimately successful and world-changing. The second, successful in a different way, was Operation Gunnerside, the secret plan to destroy any capabilities the Axis powers had to create precious heavy water in the snowy landscapes of Norway. A plan called one of the most important acts of sabotage in human history. March 1942. Japanese forces had just decimated Pearl Harbor a few months before, and officially dragged Britain and the United States into the wheat grinders of modern combat. At the same time, on the other side of the world, a lone Norwegian soldier was parachuting into its German-occupied homeland for reconnaissance. Norway had the only source of heavy water in the world, the Vemork hydroelectric power plant, and the Allies needed to know how fast the German atomic bomb program was progressing with this substance. He patiently gathered information at Vemork for months until 4 more Norwegians were dropped just west of his location. Codenamed Grouse, these young men were told to group up, prepare to sabotage the plant, and wait for reinforcements. On November 19th, those reinforcements came in the form of 34 specially trained British engineers and pilots. The plan was for the British sabotage group to land on a frozen lake nearby via airplane-towed gliders, rendezvous with the Norwegians embedded in the woods, and then destroy Vemork's heavy water production facility with explosives. But they never reached the ground. One plane and its glider crashed into a mountainside, killing everyone on board. The other glider crash-landed after its tow plane attempted to abort mission, killing most of that team. German soldiers would quickly find, torture, and shoot the rest. The Norwegians alive on the ground in the Nazi-occupied homeland were now in a terrible situation, forced to lay low and brave a harsh winter until another mission could be planned and executed. The small group changed their name from Grouse to Swallow, and hid for weeks amongst the trees and caves of a mountain plateau. It was a bare existence. They subsisted on moths, lichen, and a single reindeer captured just before Christmas, 1943. Holiday dinner was gamey meat and the contents of the deer's stomach. Nuclear physics abounds with complicated terminology, but thankfully, heavy water is relatively simple to understand. All it is water that has extra neutrons in it, extra particles, hence extra mass. Technically, it's hydrogen with 1 extra neutron in its nucleus, deuterium, or with 2 extra neutrons in its nucleus, tritium. Chemically, inside of the body, heavy water acts chemically the same and wouldn't do anything to you. And if you had a water bottle of it, you wouldn't be able to tell any mass difference. However, you can do an experiment, as you see here. If you make an ice cube purely out of heavy water, it sinks rather than floats. Heavy water inside the body doesn't do anything special, but inside of a nuclear reactor, heavy water does something that light water does not. And that's what the Germans were counting on. Heavy water may not be interesting to your biology, but it's a critical substance in nuclear physics, or it was at the time. Right before they surrendered, Nazi scientists were banking on the stuff to be how they would take over the world. That's because heavy water is heavier. It has extra neutrons, and it would slow down the neutrons that come streaming out of nuclear fission reactions. Once slowed down to thermal speed, these neutrons would be more likely to split other fissile atoms nearby and begin a chain reaction. The ability of a material to do this is called moderation. More moderation means less actual material, in this case uranium or plutonium, needed to achieve a critical mass, the minimum amount of a material needed to initiate a spontaneous chain reaction. This is where the massive release of energy comes from, and therefore a potential weapon's destructive power. German scientists thought heavy water would be the key to their atomic program. Oppenheimer and the scientists at Los Alamos thought something else. Heavy water is not the only moderating material, and naturally uranium is not the only form of the element. Instead of using a rare form of water and unenriched uranium, American scientists would pursue the physics enabled by enriched uranium with a much higher percentage of fissile or splittable atoms, and graphite, a moderating material that was much easier to get their hands on than deuterium and tritium. It would be the respective rarities of their materials and their purities that would ultimately doom the German program almost from the start. Before the war in 1934, the Vemork hydroelectric power plant became the world's first commercial heavy water plant, with a capacity to produce 12 tons of D2O per year. In 1940, Germany invaded Norway. and immediately took ownership of 185 kilograms of the moderator. Less than 50 gallons of heavy water, but it was the world's entire supply. If Heisenberg and his scientists were right, a nuclear reactor, plutonium, and an atomic bomb would follow shortly thereafter. The Allies weren't going to let this happen. And so, before the invasion of Norway, the French secretly removed the world's excellent supply of heavy water off-site, and then off-country, the first setback for the Iranian war. However, Vermont still had the ability to produce thousands of kilograms of heavy water per year. This is why, while a handful of young Norwegians shivered in the snow, sustained by a single reindeer, another mission to the port was planned. Another sabotage to save the world. Heavy water is rare, but natural. In seawater, for example, there is one deuterium atom for every 6,400 hydrogen atoms. It can be concentrated by various methods, but at Vermont, the Germans were relying on electrolysis, applying direct current to drive chemical reactions. It works because regular water bonds happen to break more easily than heavy water bonds. So by running electricity, energy through regular water, in the presence of a catalyst, what water remains after bonds break and hydrogen gas escapes is pure D2O. But only a very small amount, maybe 1 milliliter for every 30 liters of regular water. Modern methods are, of course, far more efficient than this and less energy intensive, but Vermont was a power plant. It had electricity to spare. And so what was once simply a byproduct of fertilizer production was now a mass production operation by the Nazis. A series of cascading electrolysis chambers that would provide the lifeblood of Germany's atomic weapons program. This unassuming series of metal tubes, these few pipes in a featureless concrete room, was the target of Operation Gunnerside. Before Operation Gunnerside would once again see commandos to control power plant, Norwegian Royal Army Colonel Leif Tronstad reportedly informed his soldiers, quote, "I cannot tell you why this mission is so important, but if you succeed, it will live on in Norway's memory for 100 years." And then, the colonel handed the men their suicide capsules. They would need them if they were captured, given what happened to the last would-be saboteurs. On February 16, 1943, this new group of 6 young Norwegians landed on the same mountain plateau where the compatriots were surviving. They joined the still combat-able Swallow team after several days of harsh weather. 11 days later, on the 27th, the assemblage was in striking distance of them.
Demons Behind Me is a powerful mantra and a brand, focused on empowering you to move forward and to leave the past behind. Our apparel was designed to give you confidence, strength, and courage every day you put it on. Most of our top quality men's and women's apparel is decorated right here in Jacksonville, Florida, and designed for durability, fit, and comfort. We have a hardcore, edgy look, but with a totally positive message. We offer a great fit guarantee, and we have free and easy returns for our customers in the U.S., meaning if you're not completely happy with how you feel in our apparel, we'll send you a shipping label for a return or an exchange. By rocking Demons Behind Me, you're making a statement that you're not going to let your past hold you back. Get yours at demonsbehindme.com.
If a man really hated ads, here's what he would do. Day 1, he would install Pi on his computer without spending a dime because it's 100% free. Day 2, he realizes how clean and clutter-free his browsing experience has been since he got Pi. He doesn't have to
The direct approach was now fortified with mines and floodlights and guarded by additional soldiers after the first failed attempt months before. Impossible. So the men took the long way. The very long way. Vermont had the tactical advantage of clinging to a steep hillside. Any approach from the side, therefore, would mean climbing down and up an icy ravine so treacherous that the Nazis were even defending. It was 200 meters deep. Undaunted, the commandos climbed down the ravine, crossed a frozen stream, and then climbed back up the other side, equivalent to scaling a 50-story building in the dark, carrying weapons and explosives. Plus, Through heroic effort, the men made it to an unsecured section of the plant, silently cut through a fence, and proceeded onwards. The demolition party had come with both explosives and inside information about the layout of the plant. The Norwegian resistance was alive and well. They quickly made it to the main basement via a cable tunnel in the region. A Norwegian caretaker by the name of Johansen stopped, but surely recognizing his countryman was more than enough. The saboteurs then found the heavy water, placed their explosives on the heavy water electrolysis chambers, and attached long fuses. Johansen stopped them again. He couldn't find his glasses, and he insisted on not leaving without them. Apparently, good glasses are very hard to find during mealtime. Thankfully, this Hollywood-style twist didn't give the group away. The glasses were found, and the fuses lit. Without a single shot fired or life lost, the Norwegian team escaped the plant, and then the explosives destroyed most of the world's heavy water-producing electrolysis chambers and over 100 gallons of the critical liquid. The entirety produced after the Germans invaded. 3,000 German soldiers were sent out across the Norwegian plateau to look for the commandos and Hansen, but they found no one. The men had successfully completed their mission, without knowing a thing about atomic bombs, without knowing what heavy water even was. Unfortunately for the Allies, heavy water production had been more quickly pursued, and this time, not even Allied bombing raids would stop it. Just a year later, the Germans were again making it too early, and were planning on moving a large volume of semi-processed heavy water back to Germany. The Allies' answer to this intercepted information was again sabotage, to destroy the liquid shipment by any means necessary. On February 20th, 1944, a ferry was carrying barrels of heavy water across Lake Tin on a railway ferry. It would only make it halfway. An explosion rocked the vessel around midnight, and it quickly sank hundreds of meters to the cold, dark bottom. Norwegian soldiers had placed 8.5 kilograms of plastic explosives on the bow when no one was looking, and then set it off. This time there were casualties. 4 Germans and 14 unfortunate Norwegians. But also, the entire supply of Germany's heavy water. Later that year, the north would be abandoned, and all operations were moved inside Germany. Today, you can follow the saboteurs' footsteps and take guided tours of their arduous mission. Operation Gunnerside has now been memorialized in movies, books, and TV miniseries, and has been called, quote, the most successful act of sabotage of World War II, and one of the most dramatic and important military missions of the war. It did, in fact, live in Norway's memory for 100 years, as the colonel claimed. Even if the mission didn't fully and completely destroy what the Uranium Club in Nazi Germany thought was their key to victory, it's arguable that those few good men on a dark winter night set back Germany's atomic program just enough to prevent it from changing the course of the war and of history. Today, the historical consensus is that even if the Germans got a maximum rate of Norwegian heavy water delivered to them, they still wouldn't have had enough to start up their own nuclear reactor, let alone produce the plutonium needed for an atomic weapon. Still, Operation Gunnerside is considered one of the most successful sabotages in all of World War II. It bent the arc of history, however slightly, away from an alternate and possibly terrifying future. Until next time.
Pull up here.
In the cold, dark hours before the United States detonated their first nuclear bomb on July 16, 1945, Manhattan Project physicist Edward Teller was making everybody nervous. It was before 4 a.m. in the New Mexico desert. The sun wasn't out yet, but he was applying sunscreen. Teller was worried about a different kind of radiation. Trying to relieve the unbearable tension that years of highly secretive work had led up to, fellow physicist Enrico Fermi decided to take bets. He reportedly said, quote, "Now let's make a bet. Let's make a bet whether or not the bomb will ignite the atmosphere, and if so, whether it will merely destroy New Mexico or destroy the world." A few scientists took the bet. He may have been joking at the time, but only because a number of the world's top scientists convinced themselves that the first atomic explosion would not accidentally destroy the entire planet. Los Alamos Laboratory Director J. Robert Oppenheimer bet $10 against another physicist's entire month's pay that the bomb wouldn't work at all, and waited silently in a hardened bunker for the milliseconds-long transition to the nuclear age that his gadget would soon usher in. This is the true story of the day we almost set the world on fire. For most of human history, science has been comparatively tame. Galileo dropping two spheres of different masses to interrogate gravity, Newton angling a prism to unweave the rainbow. But as the centuries passed, technology allowed humans to press onwards into increasingly extreme energy regimes. Today, experiments with kilometers-wide particle accelerators force us to at least entertain the possibility that, for example, smashing atoms together at just 3 meters below light speed could produce microscopic black holes. In 1942, the Harden Laboratory Director J. Robin, he may have been joking at the time, but only because a number of the world's top scientists convinced themselves that the first atomic explosion would not accidentally destroy the entire planet. Los Alamos Laboratory Director J. Robert Oppenheimer bet $10 against another physicist's entire month's pay that the bomb wouldn't work at all, and waited silently in a hardened bunker for the milliseconds-long transition to the nuclear age that his gadget would soon usher in. This is the true story of the day we almost set the world on fire. For most of human history, science has been comparatively tame. Galileo dropping two spheres of different masses to interrogate gravity, Newton angling a prism to unweave the rainbow. But as the centuries passed, technology allowed humans to press onwards into increasingly extreme energy regimes. Today, experiments with kilometers-wide particle accelerators force us to at least entertain the possibility that, for example, smashing atoms together at just 3 meters below light speed could produce microscopic black holes. In 1942, we had to ask a similar existentially imperative question. Would detonating the first nuclear weapon ignite the atmosphere and end all life on Earth? A few years before the first nuclear detonation, codenamed Trinity, obliterated the bleak stretch of New Mexico desert, one of the physicists on the project, Edward Teller, reportedly walked into an office with a few other scientists and asked bluntly, what would happen to the air if an atomic bomb were exploded in the air? This basic question apparently hadn't been fully considered, and so it was taken to his superiors on the project, one of them being J. Robert Oppenheimer. What they were worried about was the possibility of a nuclear explosion being so intense that the fission event would cause a fusion event, where atoms in the air fuse together, releasing many times more energy than if they were split, and this would start a runaway chain reaction that would spread promptly through all of Earth's air, emitting enough energy to vaporize everything. Some of the scientists were immediately skeptical of atmospheric ignition, but no one had ever unleashed the atom like this before. There's nitrogen in the air, Teller told Oppenheimer, and you can have a nuclear reaction in which two nitrogen nuclei collide, and in this process you set free a lot of energy. Couldn't ignition happen? That's a terrible possibility, Oppenheimer responded. And some had to take Oppenheimer's terrible possibility seriously. Edward Teller, Arthur Compton, Oppenheimer, and other Manhattan Project physicists now needed some calculations to address two possibilities. When the gadget, as they called it, goes off, its apocalyptic energy is going to expand outwards in a sphere. If that energy causes additional fusion to happen in air, this sphere will pick up energy as it moves outwards, eventually consuming everything. That was one possibility. The other possibility was that even if the bomb caused fusion of air molecules, as the blast expanded, it could lose energy to the environment faster than it gained energy from fusion. To solve this dilemma, some of the smartest men alive were tasked with calculating whether or not Earth had an ignition point. And so, the analysis began. The worst-case scenario for energy gains, the scientists figured, would come from a single reaction involving nitrogen. A fusion reaction between two nitrogen atoms will produce fusion products like magnesium, an alpha particle, and 17 mega-electron volts of energy in the form of photons. 17 MeV sounds like a lot, but it's only around a trillionth of a joule, a million times less energetic than a single snowflake striking the ground. However, the danger wasn't in a single reaction. It was in all the possible reactions. Nitrogen makes up 78% of Earth's atmosphere. If you were to cup your hands right now, there are likely 1 million quadrillion nitrogen atoms in the air that you captured. If all those atoms underwent fusion because of a nuclear blast, just the energy in your hands would be in the gigajoule range, as though you were Zeus himself, grasping a lightning bolt.
Eat any good mice,
Knowing the worst-case reaction, the scientists then estimated how many nitrogen atoms would be in the air around the gadget, how likely it would be for those particles to fuse with other particles in the air, and how energetic this hypothetical reaction would actually be. You have to use how they needed the other side of the equation. Explodes. A spherical region of air is heated to star-like temperatures. In this ultra-hot plasma, products of fission and/or fusion are flying around with tremendous kinetic energy, smacking into the air at the edge of the fireball, giving it energy. However, while the nuclei of these edge atoms, protons and neutrons, can hold on to this impact energy, helping to maintain the temperature of the explosion, the electrons flying about in this plasma cannot. They let go of the energy imparted to them very quickly. When electrons are accelerated or decelerated